But here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. Back. There's a sound bite. Somebody grab that. And of course, any of you, is YouTube working? I hope so. Always fun. Oh my goodness. So many things going on right now. I can't believe how many cross currents I'm feeling right now. And I do understand people on the site. We've had a ton of cross currents just of late. Just in the past week on the site. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. Geez, I officially put myself on trading timeout. I said, Brian, put the mouse down. You have no business going in and risking your hard-earned money in this kind of market state, or really more your mental state. So, for whatever it's worth, like the gold peak there in the 1970s and 80s, it was the same environment. It was just absolute chaos. And people look back, and this is what really kills you about, trying to convey to the public the difference between looking at a price chart and going, oh yeah, man, if I could have totally sold that top and I'd be the boss and shoot it into the ground. Yeah, it's one thing to aspire to that, to actually do that trade, be the guy who sells the top. I mean, come on. One of the basic principles we try to teach at TRI is, leave the top 5-10% to the pros, the guys who are like driving the bus, Goldman Sachs, Mr. Munchin, and all those people, because when you actually are going through that period where that ultimate top or ultimate bottom is put in, it's like absolute chaos out there. And to expect yourself to, how do you say this? To outperform through a period where you know that you're being set up to underperform is, I think, actually a bit unrealistic. And so as a result, you get a lot of people who take, desperate stabs. They start trading out of emotion. Accounts start blowing up. I'm actually, one thing I'm very pleased at, just this recent move here on the corn, and and I think Ethereum pulled back there a bit, and some of the various crypto names. We didn't really hear too much of the suicide talk. I hate when that stuff starts happening. But that just becomes, all of that kind of stuff just comes from a bit poor behavior. And if anything, this, like I said, there's about 50 different things I need to talk to you guys about today. But one thing that actually jumped out at me and I was quite surprised about was, number one, in our lounge, we seem to have this little bubble. And actually, we were just talking about that before we got the video going. I do see that people are trying to prick the bubble by sort of throwing in lots of headline news and stuff like that. And if anything, people on the lounge are like, whoa, remember, this place is about PMA. Tone down the rhetoric. And if you're going to post something along those lines in the TRI lounge, for heaven's sakes, I even challenged everybody before I got this video going, saying, my challenge to you is, yeah, this is a shit show right now. YouTube censors, I'm sorry, this video is not made for kids. I mean, it is what it is. This is a shit show. Your number one job, of course, here is to make sure what you know what your number one job is, right? And everybody knows what their number one job is. And like I said, we're seeing a lot of people losing that focus right now. But specifically with regard to posting and participating in the lounge and the TRI community, keep in mind we got a whole bunch of brand new traders that have all just come in here for this new school term that are aspiring. They're very vulnerable. They're very malleable. My challenge to each and every one of you TRI members, this is a talk to my TRI members, not just the YouTube audience, is how do you put a PMA spin on whatever you are seeing in the world? Is there a way for us to try and spin a positive out of this? There always is. Think yin and yang. The glass is either half full or it's half empty. So my challenge to the TRI community here, and really to YouTube, I think, unfortunately something like a YouTube audience, it's far too big to actually sort of corral. But I can corral our TRI community. And my challenge to you is, how do we reach out? If you're feeling okay, maybe reach out to the person that's a bit stressed. One gentleman who I've had a lot of fun working with over the past few years, and I think we've got him to the point of professional status. Right now, I think he's actually just come down with the sickness. So he's going through a bit of tough times right now, and actually I see him posting away in the lounge. Maybe, that's a way you can help out. How do you spin this positively? That's my challenge to TRIers. One of the TRI principles this morning says, we're going to refrain from 2 conversations today in this Broiler Chicken show, Brian. We're going to refrain from healthcare, and we're going to refrain from politics. Good luck. I'm going to try my best. My promise to all of you, of course, is I'm going to try my best. And remember, everything that I try to do here at the site is with the best intentions, and 9 times out of 10 when I make a comment, it's more just sort of like, so what's the political what's the economic repercussions of this political event, or what's the economic repercussions of this particular global health crisis. Ironically enough, and I was even joking with somebody else this morning, on Twitter kind of stuff, that I believe that democratically elected politicians in our Western society are basically set up for failure from day one. And you all know my story about my special needs son and how it's super important for me to try and set him up for success every time I'm with him. Like literally, I go out of my way to think about the things that will set him up so he has no choice but to succeed. And frankly speaking, with your trading and you risking your hard-earned money, I think you should follow those principles. It's in your best interest. One of the basics of this whole sort of nanny nibbles kind of approach, little old lady risk management principle to investing your hard-earned money, is by definition, if you take less than 5% risk on a basket of assets, per asset, they say statistically it's actually very difficult to either out or underperform a broader market index, because in essence it's a basket of an index. it's almost the same thing, and they've done statistical models on it. So there's a logic to that 5% rule, and the simple logic is whatever the broader market's going to do, your basket of assets are probably going to do the same thing. So those are the kind of things that we do to just simply try and set you up for success. So, like I said, I'm constantly, I do, biometrics and biofeedback, that kind of stuff, and I'm constantly quizzing myself on my emotional state. And I could clearly see at the beginning of last week, my emotional state just simply said, you're not in a position to be making rational decisions, don't go spending money. And, that's sort of a checkbox in my daily routine. How is my emotional state? Do I have things pressing? And, turns out I did. So put the mouse and the money away. We have a new school. Actually, one more thing I want to talk about before we get into that. I was so proud of the TRI community in one regard over the weekend, and I trade a lot of yeah, thank you, Shane. I trade a lot of stocks these days, and have a lot of fun in the stock market. I mean, I'm the type of guy that, if I see something that looks like it's going to make me money, I'll trade it. If it's broiler chickens, it's broiler chickens. If it's Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin. If it's stocks, it's stocks. I happen to have this one account that I've been just having fun with. It's a registered account. So, because it's a registered account, there aren't any capital gains implications for trading. So, if I want to sit there and just bang out doubles and just build the account up to whatever the sky's the limit, you could do it tax free. So, I've been having fun doing that in the stock market this cycle. And actually, I've been, frankly speaking, because I really try to demonstrate the process to people, I couldn't give a shit about the percentage returns. It's just another pile of money. And I have to say, I'm actually very proud of my performance. And Kevin's even going, "Holy shit!" Because we brought on a gentleman to try and help reconcile all the trading I do, because I do a bit of trading. And he's like, "Gee whiz, Brian, this is a hell of a lot of doubles you got here. This is insane." So I'm actually really proud of myself being the demonstrator of best practices, that account has grown very nicely, and you could write newsletters off of it. And more importantly, what I like is things like Sharpe ratios and the relative risk that you take given the size of your portfolio, and things like asset allocation. I love that kind of talk. And on my Twitter feed, right? Ironically enough, I have this one thing at the top of my feed here, and most people concentrate on this $500 into 100,000, which is okay. It's good percentage returns, but you could go buy a fucking shitcoin for $500, and it could turn into 100 grand like that, right? I mean, we all know the crazy story of these shitcoins. So that's not really the big selling feature of this tweet, and why I would be so proud. What's more impressive for me is the idea that 5% risk of $500, that means I was only putting $25 into an idea. So the odds of this $500 disappearing, right, the whole risk part of portfolio management was negligible. And that actually is why I actually have this on here. This is actually the biggest selling feature of this. But, social media and stuff like that, they don't get that kind of stuff. That's old, gnarly trader, broker, risk management kind of talk. What's your Sharpe ratio? All that kind of stuff. Anyway, so, if you ever talk to a guy like me, I'm more concerned about this than I am actually about this. Anybody can, get lucky and go to Vegas and you have a half decent idea. But what usually happens in this game of investing, and to a certain degree I'm seeing that happen now, is, people happen to catch a one-directional market, and they happen to, have a bias, and a trading setup happens to agree with that bias. And as long as that market state stays in place, you're fucking bulletproof. And wow, you can really see accounts go through the roof in times like that. And then, when that market state changes, the indicators maybe start slipping a bit, because maybe too many people are following the same information, looking for that continuation of what they just saw over the past few years, and going, hey, if they can do that, then why can't I? The trade gets too crowded, maybe the underlying fundamentals change, blah, 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 blah. And they end up just giving most of the money that they made right back to the market. So often. So cliche in this game. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. The reason why I wanted to come over here was I was really impressed with the TRI community. I'm going to leave this experiment in the TRI community's hands here. Well, what the hell's Brian talking about? somebody reached out on the site yesterday, and I don't really want to sort of name names here. I'd rather sort of try and keep this anonymous, but you're going to see their names. I'm sorry. But somebody reached out yesterday and posted this gentleman's story. I think he's Traders Inc. And yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Traders Inc. I'm going to talk about you here. They were very empathetic, and it was a heartfelt story. And of course, he talked about losing a loved one, and you all know my story. If I start talking about JoJo, I'll fall apart here. So, total empathy. And what I really read through this whole stream was that, going and trading, it's really a lot of gambling, and the weird part about this crazy game called trading that I've learned over the years is remembering things like your number one job, right? And, risk management, portfolio management, and just making damn sure you got your ass covered. Don't take too much risk. When the market moves, pay yourself, watch your account balance go up, yada, 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 rinse and repeat. No emotions. You're here to trade setups. Your opinions don't really mean much. So, like I said, I was really touched by TRI's community response here. That's what really touched me. What I actually reached out to this gentleman. I'm trying to find where I did that. And I just said, look, this game is hard enough. People on the site were posting that the sort of YouTube influencer feed is just going absolutely apeshit right now. And Shane's saying something here. Shane, let me finish this thought, then we'll turn you loose, okay? If you really need to say something here. So I get it that our society is actually not setting people up for success. Our society is actually setting you up for failure. It sucks. And what I don't see enough of in our society is people that are just like, look at the squiggly lines are the squiggly lines. They're actually designed to get you to have an emotional reaction. Things like the DOM flipping all over the place, and like tensor charts and their bubbles and their vertical lines across the price chart and the flashing bulbs and everything. It's to get you to pull the trigger, to get you to spend your money. A lot of it is hit and miss. There's no doubt about it. In fact, I've tried to tell people there are people in this world that will manipulate an asset price to actually get an indicator to do things like flash an oversold signal or, cross a moving average, because they know that there are people that are just like, I'm a moving average guy, and when the moving average does its thing, I go. You have to understand, this is the way this world works. There are people that actually work you as you think. This is the worst part about it. You think you're sitting there independently making rational decisions on your own, when in actual fact, you are being completely played. It might take weeks, it might take months for the play to play itself out, but that's how it goes. Sucks horsecocks, I'll tell you, man. But, actually we shared a video on the site earlier today, or earlier Shane did, about Sassy and trying to understand the box. And can you disconnect yourself from the system and just be able to stand outside the system and be able to observe the box and observe the way the box is moving around and the way that the system is evolving. And then, of course, if you can do that, then you can sharpshoot and just take your shots where you see vulnerabilities, or what the traders like to call imbalances. Or you hear that Raoul Paul guy go, asymmetrical risk setups, right? Johnny Hoagland comes on, he goes, hey, I got buy against a lower value on the overnight, anyway, blah, 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 6-to-1 risk-reward ratio. So the point here is that nobody teaches you the way for you to be able to disconnect yourself and be able to approach your investing and building your nest egg and your personal net worth through the vehicle of trading, this thing called the process. And so what I saw with this person was they had great aspirations, they had lots of desire, but they lacked the process. And that's the one thing I love about TRI. Once people sort of get settled into the process, there's Colleen. She's a perfect example. I think she's... Are you on the call here, Colleen? And Colleen runs the... she's sort of the manager of the Ladies' Lounge. Yeah, there you are, dear. She's bought the Kool-Aid. I think she now just simply... Colleen. Sorry. If I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm sorry. And I think she's just running her small business of trading and just sort of taking her shots. Bing, 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 bing. And when she hits, like I think she hit a warrant the other day, 8x. Bang. Nice fill. Yeah, Merry Christmas. It's not even a sexist thing. We can't say, it's just it's a boys' club. Fuck that. And the irony of it all is they've actually done studies over the years, and women actually make far better investors than men. So, yeah, okay, Kaitrin, you get your butt in there. You mentor up with Colleen. She'll guide you well. I'm very proud of Colleen. I give her top marks. And her husband, too. So, Mr. Traders Inc. And it's interesting because I did have a conversation with this gentleman. And the interesting thing is, the conversation I had with this gentleman is he doesn't understand what my proposition is. I'm not gonna... Traders Inc., if you are listening to this, and I would, because I reached out to this guy. I'm totally genuine, totally honest here. I will be more than happy to teach you the process, because that's what you come to learn here in the Level 1 program at TRI. You're here to learn the process. The whole idea of working from a plan, holding yourself to account, tracking your behavior, tracking your emotions, tracking your learning, tracking your... market savvy, tracking your ability to actually manage yourself, tracking your ability to actually vet a setup and make it your own. That's what you're here at TRI to learn. So and from what I understand, these people get it. They get the value. They come back and they buy the level 2 and they buy the level 3, and then they want to be grandfathered on the site, and then they want to be named as godchildren to my next born kids. These people get it. It works, and they love it, and that's beautiful about TRI. Like I said, because we follow this process, we're in this bubble where we're not really wrapped up in all the insanity that's going on in the world. Try and keep yourself safe, try and keep yourself healthy, be diversified. Don't, hold all your eggs in one basket. What do you think? Diversification a bit into Bitcoin, would that have been a half decent idea over the years here? I think so. But at the same time, too, don't fucking go all 100% sell your house, go into Bitcoin. Because if the government shits on Bitcoin here, you could be fucked. So don't do that either. Diversification, which is, of course, a concept that we're going to try and hammer home to you. This concept called the efficient frontier, and the way that a good sort of portfolio of assets is managed. But that's what you're here to learn. And that's my proposition for you, Sir Trader Inc. I don't know. Are you on YouTube there? Is that you? I don't know whether this person's even here. And I don't know whether this person's ready for this. Because really, What I'm actually asking for you, sir, is I'm actually asking to change your life. Do you really want to change your life? And start demonstrating best practices, learning the process. And the weird part about this is when you start doing the process and demonstrating best practices through this, it spills over into the rest of your life. You start being a half decent, civic citizen and all that kind of crap. So that the gauntlet has been cast. I don't know whether this gentleman is ready for it, but if you are ready for it, you better get off your ass because we just had class 1, day 1 today. And in fact, you know what? I'm gonna wait for the next message. Like I said, what really impressed me, and I couldn't believe this, is like I said, I'm more than happy on these broiler chicken shows to give you that framework. And you can go through and mine all the old broiler chicken shows. There was one gentleman who put together literally a a user manual of the entire everything that I teach in my courses, based off of just these free YouTube shows. So if you want it, you can go about that route, which is very labor intensive, but hey, it's there for you. You can't say it's not available. It's there. Go for it. But what I was really impressed with was my community. This TRI, these people, I couldn't believe it. People in the community were like, fuck that, man. If this guy can't, if he's dead broke and it's like we want to change his life, I'll go and throw a whack of dough in to help pay for his course. And, Farmer Dave turned fucking gazillionaire. He's like, I'll throw in a couple bucks. I mean, what a beautiful spirit these TRI people have. Nobody asked them to do that. I mean, like I said, somebody upstairs, maybe it's your mom, Trader Inc. Maybe it's JoJo. I don't know. I don't want to start crying here. But somebody's looking out for you here. I mean, seriously, somebody's looking out for you here. Get in touch with me, but put the fucking squiggly line talk away and get rid of the ego. No offense. Oh, no, I don't even want to say it. Just, you have to come to me with a blank slate and say, I don't know anything. Teach me the process, Brian. And start from scratch. All right. I had to talk about that. I'm sorry. I know that was really, and you guys are like, when is he going to talk about the charts? But, our community here wants to help you, Traders Inc. And it's not going to cost you a dime. But the question here, the universe is reaching out to you. Will you accept this? I don't know. But you better get off your ass because it's really fucking difficult to play catch up with this shit. And they've already started. Right, so today was already day 1, and I'm going to talk to the level 1ers here a little bit about some of the questions that they're going to be asking here. So, anyway, well, I mean, right, Kevin says I could recommend it. Do it. I mean, what's the guy got to lose if these TRIers are going to buy the course for him? I mean, how could you possibly lose? I don't get it. But that's not the point. The point here is he willing to actually accept that? Okay, I'm ready to change my life. That's the big question. And some people are like, well, you know what, no, I'm not ready for that kind of commitment, because if he did take this and he didn't do what we asked, then he's got no excuses. So but we're here ready to change your life, dude. Okay, enough of this poor gentleman. He's probably sitting there going, holy crap, what did I get myself into here? But I think, with that Twitter stream, he reached out to the universe for help, and bang, here comes Brian. Okay, let's talk a little market talk. As I've sort of said, and I've been intonating this for quite a while now, I'm very worried that we just went through a very long-term cyclical pivot. Asset prices were inflated. Through that chaos, I personally think to the betterment of the people that were in charge. Those people are no longer going to be in charge, so they just wanted to get their money out at best prices possible. That's been my mantra for a while now, and it sucks. My astrological advisor told me, Brian, don't get involved with the market here until about middle to the end of February. And frankly speaking, I kind of like that. Especially with regard to things like cryptocurrencies. Um, there's a very big event coming up here on the 7th or 8th of February. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's also some sort of astrological stuff around there. Andre on the site's been keeping really good track of the EVU events. He says there's a big EVU event on the 18th of January, I think. Right around the inauguration or something like that. Oh, wonderful. Oh, yeah, tomorrow. So we got an energy release date tomorrow. We might see the whole fucking market just go absolutely. You saw the last time we had an EVU. The damn market just went crazy following that. Just a massive energy release. So get ready. We might just get another massive energy release here. I don't know. I do find it fascinating that now Washington, D.C., they say there are more military troops inside Washington, D.C. than there were in Afghanistan and Iraq combined. I couldn't believe that. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, and I mean, they were pulling National Guard troops from fucking 20 different directions and stuff. So, ironically enough, if you actually wanted to pull off a coup, man, this was so perfectly orchestrated. There's no way that people can touch this Biden. Maybe Biden was the coup. Who knows? Oh, goodness. You can't write better fiction than reality. And you know the right wing, and especially those type people. I'm not supposed to talk politics. Yes, I know. So thank you for reminding me. Oh, goodness. It is what it is. I mean, our leader here in Canada, oh my goodness. It seems to be country to country to country to country. So I have anything, I hate to say it, but people in the United States, you're not alone. I think everybody in the world is going through this anxiety period, and we're all pointing fingers, and we're all very angry, and we're all very uncomfortable, and this is what that kind of event looks like. It sucks. Where do we go from here? It's interesting how the fear-greed index actually has been backing off a little bit. I've been noticing that. That's a bit surprising to me. One thing I really do like about TRI is the technical tools that we're putting together to help us sort of see the market in full. I've been warning sort of publicly that I think the big problem that will derail all of this sort of MMT kind of talk, all that kind of stuff, is the bond market. And you can see that's a very well-defined M in actual bond prices, which means yields or interest rates look the exact opposite. They have big W's working. That's not good for capitalism. We'll see how it goes. It's interesting, too, how we're actually starting to get some weakness out of things like European stock indexes. And we were seeing a little bit of weakness out of crypto, the big crypto names. And actually, look at that. We actually have a little sell signal coming in on the Dow here. So, interestingly enough, we might actually find that, strength in the bond market. If you can see there's a cute little W working. And I noticed that on the bonds in the very short term there. I think they've caught a bid with the stocks actually coming off here a little bit. So we might find that we're still sort of very rangy. But it's sort of the feel of the market. It just feels very heavy. And you get one of those flash events. Who knows what it is. That can knock. I think with the talk healthcare wise, and I won't get into specifics, is that this variant 2.0 is now hitting North America. Ontario, for example, the biggest province in my country, is on basically like full double secret probation lockdown. So I have a feeling North American risk takers are going to get a little stressed out here over the short term. Also, too, do you have this Biden inauguration as sort of like a buy the rumor, sell the news? What's going to happen following that? Everybody's expecting a big push of socialism, which, of course, there's going to be a bill for that, which means that massive issuance of new debt will turn the interest rate market and will start the process of 35 years of rising interest rates. It wouldn't surprise me. Something along those lines makes perfect sense. And with this new stimulus package and all this government spending, the Fed, as sort of the backstop of the U.S. hegemony system, will have tons of firepower. If we think reserve ratio, but in COVID world, they even pull the reserve ratio requirements off. But if we even use conservative reserve ratio, like 10-1 or something, conservative, that would give the Fed like about $10 trillion of firepower. I think they're more, like through the COVID kind of events, and if we have another one of those, you might find that the money market seizes back up. But the Fed's got plenty of firepower. They can come in with a, $1 trillion bazooka, $3 trillion bazooka, right? And just rock the market, and it's just business as usual. So my hunch is going to be, if there are going to be corrections and stuff like that, it's going to be that. And if anything, I've been barking recently about how I like the idea that Ethereum, in my eyes, is kind of like where Bitcoin was in like 2015, 2016 kind of idea. And, if we can get pullbacks into like 61.8s off of those original bottoms, that's a fucking buying opportunity of a lifetime. So, that's the kind of environment that we're in. I would argue we're heading into a 15, 20-year growth cycle. That looks something along the lines of, where are we here? This image. So the baby boomers went through their growth cycle. Then they had to go through their retirement cycle. So we're now heading into the millennials growth cycle. Unfortunately, this is a fugazi world that we live in. And I often wondered about this, right? How do you say this? People put up log charts of things like Bitcoin, 150,000 Bitcoin, $200,000. And people, nowadays we scratch our heads and go, how the fuck does that possibly happen? There's only 21 million out. That there's a cost of production, so that's the base value to keep the network going. How the fuck do you get to 200, 500, $1 million of Bitcoin? Well, I think the way you do is this, which sucks horsecocks. It's fantastic for a hedge, right? The hedge of Bitcoin, the whole purpose of it to begin with, will probably all save our asses. But you're not going to be, like a millionaire. What the fuck does when I was a kid, a millionaire was a rich guy, right? He would rove around in a limousine and had a phone in his car. Whoa, that was pretty crazy. But the sad part about it now, fucking silly Vancouver, you can't even buy a house in the city of Vancouver with $1 million. So what the fuck does a millionaire mean? It doesn't really mean anything, which sucks, because technically TRI is a millionaire, but doesn't mean anything. Shitty. Bye, Doge. Yeah, I saw a guy the other day, I couldn't believe it, a video on YouTube, and he's touting about how, he put like $500,000 into the market, and now it's worth like, $10, $20 million or whatever. You know how smart of an investor he is and stuff like that. And he was pulling up his accounts, and he's like, "Oh, in this account, I've got Tesla shares and Apple shares. Oh yeah, and over in this account, I've got Tesla shares and Apple shares. Oh yeah, and I've got this. I've had this account for years, and over in this account, I've got Tesla shares and Apple shares." It's like, this is the same thing as a guy who bought Bitcoin at like $1,000 or something. Remember McAfee's tout about his cost of production. And at $20,000 Bitcoin, he goes, "Yeah, look how smart I am. I'm diversified, and I'm a fucking killer investor. My account's in Bitcoin." And then, of course, the next after everybody loses interest in the market, which is almost what always happens in this game, everything comes back down to cost of production levels. And oh well, I mean, who knows about Tesla? I mean. Isn't Elon wonderful? His next best thing since sliced bread. Might be interesting to see the historical similarities between the Apple story of the late 70s and early 80s, and then the growing pains Apple shareholders had to go through once Apple got turned into sort of like a conglomerate corporation. And Mr. Jobs was actually politely left the company. Does Musk do the same thing with Tesla? It would be a really interesting historical comparison because it sure seems to me the similarities are shocking. And then, next cycle down the road, Tesla, Musk comes storming back, takes over the company at like $1 a share. And then takes it to the next generation. It wouldn't surprise me. Just, be careful with your hard-earned money, everybody. I mean, you might be tempted to go in and invest in something like a Tesla right now. But what is it you're actually buying with that money? I mean, if you're buying the circus story, awesome. And it's just like Bitcoin. I mean, fuck, you can go in and buy Bitcoin here. Great. But do you really know what it is you're buying and what quote-unquote value is in this space? If you do, then I don't know. It makes it very difficult to justify buying a Bitcoin right here. But all the stock to flow people will say, no, you're not right. Anyway, it's here nor there. The point that I show on this image, and actually this is going to be a big conversation for the level 1ers here over the next week or two, is where are we in the big picture of life? And where, especially with things like demographic cycles. Foggy that fugazi. Yeah. That's kind of cute. Actually, that might be interesting because I wouldn't be surprised that the rate of Fed quantitative easing, if we looked at the growth of the Fed's balance sheet, I bet it looks almost exactly the same curve as that Feigenbaum image, the pitchfork. Colleen, does that make sense what I'm saying? I bet it looks almost identical. Which is scary because what happens when the Fed gets to that critical point of foggy and all hell breaks loose? The Fed's balance sheet goes chaotic. Oh no. Actually, and it's interesting. We should be able to, based on that logic, we should actually be able to put a timeline on exactly when the Fed's balance sheet should go chaotic, eh? And I bet you I wouldn't be surprised that there's a whole bunch of Goldman Sachs guys who've actually placed bets on that exact date. Wouldn't surprise me at all in this stupid world. Anyway, so the point here is we have to put price into context. And unfortunately, what the 1% has decided to do is they've decided to sacrifice this thing called the dollar, that these assets, and in this particular case, this is a basket of the sort of 30 largest industrial companies in the United States of America, their equity shares. that basket being valued in these things, it's this thing that's being fucked around with here, and that's dangerous. I've said this repeatedly over the years. There is a cardinal rule in sort of economics: do not fuck with your country's money supply. The bankers have basically convinced the politicians that it's perfectly fine to spend more money than you bring in, and the solution will be we will fuck with the money supply and con these people into believing that the value of their assets is actually going up. In reality, this is your image. And this is the dot-com boom and the peak of that economic cycle, and it was one hell of a cycle. Especially when you look at charts in the crypto space, you see a lot of charts that look like this, literally going straight up. This is not sustainable over time, and it has to be cleaned up. Reload zones, 50% retracements, GAN, blah, 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 blah. Well, this was that particular cycle, that baby boomers growth cycle, right, from down the base here in 1980s. And it's so funny listening to all the fundamentalist people, because they all lament about how wonderful the value of the stock market and the value of assets was in the late 1970s and early 80s, right? This was the time to be loading up. Sort of the 70s, labor, standard of living, all that kind of stuff. So your baby boomers go and mess with the system, and then to get them out of the system, look at this mess, right? I thought, Brian, you said that they are exiting. That looks to me like they're buying. Well, in reality, this is what's actually happened over that time period. So, and here we are. Actually, it's interesting. I did see a couple other people on YouTube are making note of this. I couldn't believe it when this poor guy, and I love the guy. I mean, he's awesome. Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. You've heard me. I love him. Beautiful spirit, right? That's the human spirit. You can't corrupt that shit. That will always exist. Hopefully. Yeah, unless Mr. Mouse turned us into robots. But the poor guy went to a fast food restaurant, and for like a burger and like a water, not even a pop. Like, he didn't even get sugar in the goddamn water. It was just water. But the burger and the pop and like a side of fries, it was like $25. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And I've seen other people also making reference to this. So it is getting noticeable. People are like, holy shit. What have you fucking done to us? The only problem is this is after the fact, right? We had Mr. Reagan ride into Washington in 1980. And ironically enough, that was right here when everybody was laughing at impotent Jimmy Carter. Right at the beginning of this baby boomer cycle, which is so sad because the bankers knew full well that the economy was going to grow anyway. Why did Mr. Reagan come into Washington here say, oh, it's okay for governments to run deficits? By definition, that's basically saying it's okay for us to go out and get credit cards and overspend. So, who's at fault here? I don't know. They'll say, well, jobs. Got to get an elected, politician. I stood up there on the platform and I said, you vote for me, I'll get you jobs. This is the whole point of what I'm trying to say here, is that our society is set up for failure. How long does it take for our society to go, these damn central bankers, they're setting us up for failure. What am I supposed to do? What are you guys going on there? Devont Crypto at Kevin, you are spelling his name wrong intentionally 3 times now. Don't worry about it. Kevin can call me Brian, Brain, Boo Boo. Who cares? Just it doesn't matter. Devont, he can call me whatever he wants. You know. At what time do we? Shame, dick. On that note, I'm gonna go fill my coffee up and let you all stew about that thought about central bankers. And if somebody wants to go in the YouTube page and put the Money Masters video link, everybody should learn that video. It's 4 hours long. Once you watch the video, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. 1913 was the day we all sold our soul.
Brian, you're gonna have to put that link in the YouTube description because no one else is allowed to put links in the YouTube chat. I know. See, and Mr. Big Worms takes over. And hi everybody. Nice to see you all. Love the YouTubers and all. It's been a journey. TRI is amazing. Please join. We will teach you stuff and how to really change your own life.
Yeah, it sounds like Shane's taking over the show. Hi, Shane. Meow. Hello. You helping somebody out here? Sorry, I was just getting coffee there. I heard you talking away. What were you saying? Sorry.
I was saying if you want to share that Money Masters video, you're gonna have to do it. No one else can post the link.
Okay.
To chat, but you.
In the TRI lounge, can you just throw it in? Shirtoshi always there. Yeah, all right. Somebody already did it. So that's cool. And then, I'll see, maybe I'll comment it later on. And, go back and watch previous Broiler Chicken shows. There's tons of those links all in there. So cool. Thanks, Kevin said. He'll add it. So, you can listen to Brian. Hopefully this message just gets so pervasive on the internet that the 1% can't stop its dissemination. But that video really is such a great education. And Shane actually was the first one. He was sort of like, yeah, you do understand Jekyll Island, don't you? And actually, I might even say that he pointed me into a very interesting educational stream. So thank you for that, Shane. Now I've totally set you up. You're screwed. Big Brother's gonna come for ya. Okay, so
I would say.
Oh, here he is. What's up?
I would say, Brian. I came across that video, but it was only you who helped me understand what that video was about. You were the person to help me dissect that video, so thank you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean it's complicated shit understanding this high finance, and their sort of motivations and why this sort of the wheels work the way that they do, and how do different players act and what's their sort of motivation. Yeah, it's complicated. Anyway. Okay, so point of the matter here is here's kind of a fun image for you. If you think that this is unique, believe it or not, it actually isn't. This is actually what the Great Depression looked like. Back then, of course, it was like, economics 101. When Mr. Bernanke thought of quantitative easing and he proposed it to Congress, I remember when he did. He was fucking shaking in his boots when he sat there in front of Congress because he was praying to God that nobody would actually publicly say what I think was actually going on, and that was the Chinese basically were dumping U.S. bonds and they had to buy them or else the U.S. bond market was going to collapse. But that's here nor there. That's like tinfoil hat conversation. But the point here is this is like, what do generational cycles look like? And is there historical precedent for what we're going through right now? If you look at the regular dollar figure stock market, you would go, well, man, I can't find any market that looks like that. Then maybe 1929, the Roaring Twenties and stuff like that. But if you actually take into account Mr. Bernanke's sort of finessing of what's going on here, and keep in mind, if we have to come back down and dip against these lows, where does that take us on the Fakese number? I mean, this could be all over the place here. This is definition of volatility if I've ever seen it. But the point here is this they they nationalized the bad debt through things like the Tennessee Valley Authority. Here, they monetized it, but in essence, it's the same thing. And so as a result, gee whiz, equity valuations in these things called US dollars, actually they're following pretty much the same path. Which is ironic, eh? Number one, our standard of living is much, much less than what it was back in 2000. And like I said, the poor oh my damn guy, the way that you see your standard of living falling is your wages do not go up. We all know wages have basically been stagnant, but prices of everything around you keep going up. It's not really fair. $26 for lunch? I mean, okay, maybe it's a good burger, but 26 fucking dollars for a burger? Come on. So that's what's happened. You know, Now, I had an interesting conversation with somebody the other day. Were we in the West actually insanely spoiled for actually maybe a little too long? And what's actually happening here is think of the lava lamp, right? The lava of the world's wealth is sort of stabilizing a little bit. Why are wages not going up at the same pace as prices are? Well, because there's a big glut of surplus labor that would be more than happy to work at less than $14 an hour. Hell, they'll be happy to take $7 an hour. Fuck that. They'll take $3. They'll take $1 an hour. They'll take 50 cents an hour. So what I think's actually going on here is it's sort of like the world economy. There's a fucking shitload of these goddamn humans on this planet, and a lot of them live very frugal lives. And to a certain degree, what I think simply happening here with this theme of globalization is it means a lessening of the Western standard of living and a rising of the what we in the West used to call the third world. Guys like Raul and stuff, he's over in India shopping for investment ideas because he thinks that kind of place in the world could actually probably do pretty well as that sort of, the lava lamp of capital sort of settles out. I would actually make the argument that over the past 15, 20 years, structurally, the United States of America was in a very weak position. Through the dot-com boom and all this kind of run-up, created, and also, too, in the face of collapsing Soviet Union and collapsing international communism, they made a lot of trade deals and stuff that were just, we want to capture market share. And the irony of it, a lot of you guys weren't even alive back in the Cold War days. There was a long period of time where it was us versus them. And there was like a iron curtain line drawn right down the middle of Europe. And it was a jockeying right along that borderline of us versus them, us versus them. And it was constantly going back and forth, us versus them, us versus them. So when the Soviet Union collapsed, it was sort of like a bonanza. Us, we all won. And we go pouring into these countries, set up these very generous trade deals just to get them on our side. That's what I think happened. As countries like China took advantage of those very generous terms, they built up their economies to the point where, hey, now they are first world economies. Way to go. But through that process, the old trade deals that were pertinent, like free trading, why does the Chinese currency still peg to the US dollar? Can somebody answer me that? What I don't understand is why did Trump, 4 years fucking hard on every day, I hate China, hate China, hate China. Why wouldn't he very simply say the Chinese peg to the US dollar stops today? Seems a bit odd. So there's something else going on there. Yeah, right, Shane. So the point of this image is this image tries to just show you that, hey, maybe we humans act in very normal, very typical behavioral patterns. And following, this was the 1920s, roaring 20s, which in a weird sort of way I think is a little bit of a fugazi about the banks taking over the system, blah, blah, blah. But I might argue that this was the baby boomers, of course, peak earnings years, pouring money into equity, very rich. I mean, basically the 1% took this opportunity to transfer all that wealth from them, from the baby boomers back to the 1%. There was one guy in this 2008 event right in here. He boasted about the fact that he himself took, $1 trillion out of the market here. One guy. I mean, is that not the definition of the baby boomers working their whole fucking lives? I mean, how many hours do they have to punch a clock at $20 an hour to come up with, what do they say, $1 trillion? And this one guy took $1 trillion out of the market. That's the definition of transferring wealth from the working class to the 1%. There you go. But if you think, and this is the message I'm trying to convey here right now, if you think that looking backwards, looking this direction, and looking this direction is going to help you and is going to set you up for making money in the future, what does the future hold? I don't think that's wise. And, interestingly, if we actually go and look at the 1980 pivot, which was also, same celestial event that we're going through right now, there was actually a market prognosticator, exactly the same cycle. I mean, literally identical demographic-wise. Ronald Reagan comes riding into Washington saying, hey, we don't have to balance the budget. Fuck that shit. And woohoo, away we go. But I might argue demographically, same thing. And there was a gentleman who we teach in the Level 1 program who is historically known for turning bearish and saying the stock market was going to go to zero right here. Ooh, boy, was that a bad decision? I mean, hindsight 2020. And, we joke about it in the school program. Wow. What the hell? Holy shit. So I don't know whether it's really a good idea to think backwards, and in this case, 1980, Mr. Granville, he built some great technical indicators. This is like a 15, 20-year duration. All of his technical indicators here said, it's time to go down. And unfortunately, that was the exact wrong move. So I'm just worried that, in this particular case, this was like the days of Camelot. We actually went sideways through this demographic. No, actually, he died. He died about 5-10 years ago. So sad. And died very quietly. Nobody really paid attention. It's really sad. Yeah. He's probably over on the other side, and he appreciates me making reference to him. I extol him. A great indicator, OBV, Joe Granville. We love to use his on-balance volume indicator, but excellent reason why we never want to take a trade just based off of one reason. So, whether it be technical analyst or whatever, but in this particular respective cycle at this point, probably thinking, well, we're going to see more of the same, or maybe even, fall off a cliff. He turned very bearish at this exact same part of the cycle. Jupiter, Saturn crossed, and woohoo! So, it feels very dangerous to be thinking, what does the past 15 years look like? And is the next 15 years going to look like that? Because I don't think it is. And if we extrapolate what the coming out of the Great Depression, because I think the Great Depression is actually very similar to what was happening now. Like I said, the charts look almost identical. I think we are in this phase right here. Which means that probably over the next year or two, who knows what the Fakese number is going to be. It might be quite a bit higher. But in real dollar terms, how many more quantitative easings do they have to do? All that kind of talk. I think in real dollar terms, equity kind of goes sideways for the next year or two. That's what I think is going to happen here. But that's setting the base for one fucking hell of a move here. Like generational, right? You see how big this move is coming out of this generational pivot, which is actually a great thing because, I came into this space, crypto, like right in here. And so, actually, no, right here. So, and I was a crude oil trader through this, and of course, lost my wife over here. She is fascinating, right? She literally passed away through the Ides of March, basically the trough. Anyway, point here is this sucks. This period. The funny thing is you guys actually think that this is a fun market that we're in right now. Man, you ain't seen nothing, man. When we were in this kind of market, it was ridiculous the money that we were making. It's just insane numbers. You've seen Wolf of Wall Street kind of movies. I don't know whether that was even the .com days reference. I think that was actually even part of here. It was just, hookers and blow kind of conversation. Just insane. And it was a lot of fun, right? Because it was just day after day after day. So that's our future. And if anything, what I'm thinking is, what is the 1% trying to get everybody to do right now? The 1%'s trying to get you into debt. They're trying to get as much equity out of you as possible. Why? Because they know that this is coming. This is equity. Whether it be your home equity, whether it be stock market equity, whether it be commodity equity, they want you in debt, and your balance sheet shows you as only having liabilities, no assets. That's what the 1%'s trying to do right now. I see it everywhere. And Klaus, fucking Klaus, you will own nothing and be happy. Well, okay, Klaus, I'll tell you what. Why don't you just give me all your stuff? Then that way you won't own anything and you can be happy all you want. Just give me your stuff. You think Klaus is going to do that? Klaus wants you to give him your stuff and get nothing in return. Klaus would be happy with that. And now Klaus is going to put you out of a job. We don't want to say the C word here. We don't want to talk politics, and we don't want to talk healthcare. We'll leave that for all the tinfoil hat stuff. But it's so obvious what's going on here. It's a fucking... the point here is, how do we spin this? Are you inside the box, and you're sitting on Klaus's lap, and he's petting you like his little bitch? Or are you standing outside the box, watching Klaus do this to all the people around you? That's your decision. I can't make that decision for you. But, if you're going to... the one thing I can sort of tell you here is they always say the more times change, the more they stay exactly the same. I don't see anything different going on here. What I do see, which pisses me off, is I see the 1% is working the public. And it kind of bums me out. So, anyway. Okay, so, what am I thinking going forward? Take this opportunity to accumulate equity, right? And get fucking legal ownership of it, have your name, your title on it, right? And fight for damn hell to keep it. Keep in mind the governments themselves, they're coming after your equity. They're going to try and tax you as hard as possible. Take advantage of tax deferred programs. Because remember, governments, the weird thing about governments is they're very short term and they're very politically motivated. Did everybody notice how slow it was, the government itself, to actually stop being sort of non-COVID and now go into full fucking COVID orgy here? That's the way governments are. They move slow as dinosaurs. So if you can just simply outweight governments, who cares? I mean, are governments really going to go after things like registered accounts that actually those registered accounts are collateral to collateralize all this insane, debt to GDP nonsense that we go on about? That's right, Nanjun. They are reactionary by definition. So if you can just simply outweight them, usually they move in about a 5 to 10 year sort of window. Governments probably for the next 5 to 10 years are going to be just fucking ape shit about COVID and about vaccines and about, sterile, I better not say that. And about, you being deemed safe and healthy, right? You know it's coming. My suggestion is probably don't fight it. Say it's not worth the effort. We're too small fish to really fight that kind of fight. But, things like, can you accumulate equity in registered accounts that grows tax-free? I don't see why not. Can you take advantage? Maybe we'll have like a government shutdown kind of thing and equity prices go into the shitter and pull back to long-term moving averages, fibs, volume profile levels. You're given a gift, right? This is the only business when stuff goes on sale, nobody wants to buy. Can you step in and take advantage of that? That's up to you. That's up to you and your plan. How the hell do you do that in the face of chaos when everybody else around you is freaking out? You have to vet your reasons that get you to act. And when you see those reasons come in, you act without reservation. The reason why a lot of people missed the opportunity there last spring was they were too in the box. They weren't looking at it going, fuck, everything's going on sale. Maybe I should step up and buy some of this stuff that people are just giving away. I don't know whether you can do that. That's entirely up to you. And, I can't spend your money for you. Only you can spend your money. So try and make prudent decisions. And like I said to that Twitter gentleman, my job, right, is here to just simply give you that framework. What squiggly lines you decide to use to actually get you to act at the end of the day, our school must teach you at least, 20 or 30 different squiggly line methods. That's actually not the hard part of trading. Squiggly lines are squiggly lines. The hard part of trading is to try and get you to stop making emotional decisions and downloading your opinion onto the market and where society's going and what who's going to be saying on the pulpit and all that kind of stuff, and just to simply get you to follow the plan and execute based on the plan. That's really the value proposition of TRI. And when people do that, fuck me, man. Oh man, the sky's the limit. But it does require you changing your entire philosophical life approach to how you risk money in the marketplace, how you behave, how you act. And like I said, through this chaotic window here in the market, which I don't think is actually half as chaotic as the 1% is making it out to be. I think the 1% is juicing this here to make you feel as though it's more chaotic, even though it actually really isn't that chaotic. Take advantage of that chaos, I think, especially pullbacks, if you can get deep pullbacks. I've talked about Ethereum before, and I want to get to the Q&A here before we finish. But, just a quick boo at something like an Ethereum. If I can get this pullback down into this window here, fuck, man, I'll totally load up. If I can get pullbacks, you could see the profile. I mean, you could see where all the institutional players are long here. If I can get a pullback down into this reload zone, all that kind of nonsense, I'll be so on the buy side. But can I come in here? I don't know. In fact, somebody was kind of like, I put out a tweet sort of to this effect that, this is what they call a megaphone pattern. Like that. Which literally means this son of a bitch could trade either side, all the way up here or all the way down here. And you never know what the hell's going to happen in trading. There's a simple message that I think, oh God, there's so much shit that I'm saying here today. I hope I hope people who are writing the notes are fucking writing like a boss, because there's so many little nuggets I'm trying to drop here today, but I'm speaking at 100 miles an hour. This image here is a really, really good testament in don't get into the business of predicting the future. Don't do it. It's a mug's game. Your job, ironically enough, is actually to wait for markets to come into levels. Location is the number one reason. And then once we're at those levels, then you can start looking for your indicators to start telling you messages of, potential trade setups and how is price itself behaving, things like volume and, candlestick patterns and stuff. But here, my prediction would be we could very easily trade right back down to $500. We could very easily be trading up at $2,300, $2,400, $2,500. I mean, and the guy who says we're going to $2,500, what happens if it goes to $500? That one call, you've lost all your credibility. It's just not worth going into that business. You might be... especially I was watching one video where this guy was, I think it was Danish or something like that. He was a big social media influencer through the 17 crypto bull, and really fucking, you said buy anything and the damn thing would go up. And he was finding that he would do a YouTube video and boom. Right. So he was just sort of saying, hey, this looks like a half decent project, but it was weird. It was sort of like, is the tail wagging the dog or is the dog wagging the tail? So really that's a function of market state. I think actually we're Doge Shane is really promoting Doge here today. I'm not quite sure why. What the hell is it that you see on this thing that's so damn appealing here? He clearly wants me to take a... You know what I do like? I sure like the look of this OMG. Fuck, look at that. I've been watching that one really closely. What's your Doge look like? Doge. Ooh, look at Algorand coming back to life. I tell you, these alts sure look interesting here. What was Shane has a bad habit of corrupting me here. Actually, that's a nice Wyckoff check. So, yeah, it's not terrible thinking.
Just click on my... just click it.
Well, anytime I click on something that you share, that's always dangerous. Something about ducks, right? Did you see his little duck joke, Andre? Did he share that with you? Where the hell's Shane?
Okay.
Did you share that with
Ryan?
other people, or was that just a private joke? Holy crap,
Private
what the hell,
joke.
you're spamming me here?
You made
What's
it
going on? Shane. Shane's always a character. Alright, let's see what the hell Shane's got in store for us. This is always dangerous. Say, hey, did you hear my Buffalo Bills? Holy shit, they're going to the AFC Championship. I was on the ground the last time Buffalo was playing in the Super Bowl there. Fuck. 25 years. It's about time. Holy shit, there you go. Doge is going to the moon. I don't see why not. I suppose that's realistic. Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether you want to buy. I guess this is versus US dollars, eh? That makes sense. You know, they always say the longer the channel, the bigger the run. So you could take like a rectangle box here, Shane. I don't know what I'm showing here. You could take like a rectangle box. Remember I did this on, what was that funny little one? Bought it at 2 sets. I was going on about it was trading in a price channel for like a year or two. It was like this. And you can draw like a box of however long the channel is, and I don't know how to do it. You know, there is a way to do it, but I'm sure. But just rotate it up, and my hunch is that distance from there to there is about the same as that distance there to there. Yumping up and down here. All right. What's going on? Yimping. YMPING. Okay.
That's a joke for jumping.
Oh, okay. Do you chase that there? Well, that's tough. I mean, I do like the idea if you had patience and discipline just to force yourself on, you know, like nanny nibbles, dollar cost averaging, all that kind of bullshit. All down through here. You want to use moving averages. Is this 200-week moving average? I always love 200-week moving averages. They're a really sort of keep you honest indicator. So, you know, I mean, and you can see it looks like a big honk. That's got to be like a monthly W now, eh? So I can understand why maybe Shane, if he's really lucky with his Doge profits, will get him a heater for his shed. 5,000 BTUs. We're going to light that shit on fire. Well, no, we don't want to burn it down. Anyway, all right. Versus the corn, you know, the irony of it all is all these things have to do is stay stable versus the corn, and they're actually going to go up in price, eh? So, you know, here's the kick in the pants. You could make the argument that technically Doge is sitting at the same price it was last October, and nothing's really changed here. So, anyway. Daniel! Yeah, where you been, bud? Hoping you've been bagging out lots of doubles. I know your brother, he sure is trying to keep me honest about how I spell bacon, I think it is. I'll remember that for the rest of my days. He does not like the way I spell bacon. Anyway, so, you know, there it is. Do you take all profits if you bought this reload zone kind of stuff? You know, we talked about Mr. Monk's tweets and, you know, bottoms coming in, gap fill, blah, blah, blah. Do you take 100% profits here, or do you maybe just sell half of it and now you got a free position, whatever, and just ride the rest? You could reload here. This is a really good example of coming back down into reload zones. All right, good old Wyckoff checks. So, yeah, interesting level, interesting zone. So what I do want to do is what's most important here is we want to, you know, dovetail to what I was saying sort of earlier, you know, and now that the school term's sort of back in session, we'll start getting back into the groove. You know, it's weird when we're sort of in between terms. I'm kind of sort of like half in it, half out of it, not really paying attention. So we'll try and be a little bit more sort of structured with these Broiler Chicken shows. Really, I do fully acknowledge that we have quite a bit of interest in our education program. In fact, it's getting to the size where even I get a little bit uncomfortable. We have what I would consider 3 gentlemen who are supporting the Level 1 program. All 3 of them could easily be instructors. They all know their shit. They're all making money from these principles, and they're doing very comfortably. They actually don't need to do any of this to for money in their lives, which is actually the most important thing here. None of us are doing this because we need money from TRI. We're all doing this to try and make a positive difference in this world, and I really like that about TRI. Our level 2 instructor, we pay him, I don't know, a percentage of the amount of students that he has, plus, a base, 5-10 grand or something. And he was telling us the other day he cleared like 20 or 30 G's trading the ES in one day. So it's not like the school and teaching this stuff and me doing these free videos on YouTube and stuff. This isn't our income stream. We don't need this shit. Which is good. That's good for all of you. Because it means we're not here to try and fucking sell you shit you don't need. But at the same time, too, man, a hell of a lot of you said, fucking Brian, I need help. Get my ass into your program. I was pretty damn impressed, pretty surprised. And like I said, we've got now the 4 of us. Grim, beautiful instructor, level 1 class today. Smooth as peanut butter. He's just like, sleeping on silk sheets. Just all nice and yummy comfy. Shark Toshi, Kevin, right-hand man, kicking ass. I'll come in and I'll try and derail the bus as often as I can. But if I see anything that I think I can add to the equation, of course, I'll throw in a comment or two. I got lots of office hours. So if you're watching the videos and the lectures and the group sessions afterward and you have questions, Grim's got your back. Sharky, Kevin, myself, we've got your back. Probably the most important thing here, though, if you are part of that group, is squeaky wheel gets the grease. You here, you paid your hard-earned money. You want your value. So I don't have a problem with that. I mean, when in high school and in university, I was the pain in the ass student that kept asking gazillions and gazillions of questions. So I don't mind that. Our wholehearted promise that if you have a question, you will be addressed. And Mr. Twitter there, the site people have your back, so you don't even have to worry about money. But you gotta get your fucking ass in here and get going. You gotta work. This isn't easy. But, one of the dovetails, just in case there are extra questions, is through this Broiler Chicken show. We have this document that's just sort of a dovetail. If there are any extra questions that maybe the team couldn't answer, I'll try and answer that here as well. Okay. Woo! I don't know whether you guys are having fun with this. I'm not really talking too much sort of market prognostications. Maybe there will be through all this stuff. It's a lot of sort of rhetoric today. I'm sorry. But like I said, man, there sure was a hell of a lot on my mind that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So, question number 1. Here we go. And question is Brian answering. Okay. What personality trait are you, Brian? I am an INFP. I think I am an ENFJ. I'm Morpheus, which is perfect because I like being that Morpheus type character. I don't need to be the superhero, but I do like hanging out with the superhero and the superhero gang, and I'm the kind of guy that will help you release the superhero within yourself. So Morpheus really speaks well to me, and interesting enough, he's an ENFJ as well. All right, well that was easy. Whew. Why do you think the 4.669 level occurs in charts? It's not really part of the educational program yet, but I might argue it's part of sort of our conversations about fractals and the Mandelbrot set and the way that energy is built up within fractals and how that energy is expressed. Because keep in mind, everything in the universe is sort of built on triangles. Everything technically in the universe, if things like string theory are correct, is basically just built off of energy. So you might argue that a consolidation in price on a price chart for in an asset, for example, is nothing more than an accumulation of energy. And what I actually find is these planetary relationships which, oh, by the way, we have one coming up here. I think it's tomorrow. There's an EVU energy release date. The energy is often released coincidentally right around these planetary energy release dates. So think of consolidations, narrow sideways channels, W's, M's, whatever, as that energy buildup. And then 4.669 just so happens to be a mathematical relationship of how that energy is naturally released in nature. I haven't really done up a formal sort of education module on this. I've been kicking, this 4.669 is sort of part of this concept called chaos theory. I've known about chaos theory for a very long time, but nobody fucking anywhere will actually teach you this stuff. So I actually, by accident, stumbled upon making the connection of chaos theory and price charts and how this chaos theory is expressed through price charts purely by accident. I think it was last January, if I'm not mistaken. So it was 1 year anniversary. Probably right around the date that Shane posted that Saturn-Pluto waxing and waning cycle study. That was a bit of a eureka moment for me. And that happened right around last January. And I'll tell you, since last January, man, I sure see the world very, very differently. It's fun to look at the world now that I understand this chaos theory. Because I can actually start really picking off levels in the market and really understanding how price behavior itself changes when we hit those levels. It's so cool. Big thank you. Shout out to the universe and to Jojo and Joby and James Cole and all the other loved ones who are thinking about me on the other side and trying to help me out. I really appreciate it. And the funny thing is, it's probably people over there that are trying to help me that I'm not even thinking about. It's probably some kid that unfortunately had to pass away because he got sick, but I made a huge difference with him, teaching him on the court, and he's thought about me for years down the road, and now he's on the other side, and he's trying to help me out, and he's the guy who actually sent me this message. Who knows? I mean, that's the crazy thing with this universe. There's one thing I've learned, and especially with this chaos theory kind of thinking, is how do we say this? We humans aren't nearly as smart as we think we are. And I think it's actually in our best interest to stop trying to overthink and I don't know what the word is. But leave ourselves open and receptive to the idea that if we just simply helped people and we didn't ask for anything back in return, the universe will actually reward you many times over, even though the bankers and the sort of the money people won't understand that logic. I'll tell you, since JoJo's died, and I tell people this all the time. I told somebody this yesterday. In fact, I go to this cute little Iranian hairdresser. She's just adorable. And I was telling her the story. Basically since the day JoJo died, all I've done is just said, look, I don't know what the fuck's going on in this world. I just don't know. And it's pointless me trying to figure it out. So I'm just going to spend the rest of my time. If I can help in some way, then I'll help. Kind of like that guy on Twitter. I mean, we didn't have to reach out to that guy, but, anyway, it is what it is. And the universe turns around and rewards me this way. I mean, there's no other way to explain this. Nobody came and said, hey, Brian, I'm here to teach you chaos theory. It just all the pieces all just came to me, here we are. Yeah. All right. So hopefully that helps with that. And like I said, I haven't got to the point where I actually feel comfortable teaching this because I don't think I'm an expert on this by any means. And there are some really interesting other levels that are associated with this that are all tied into the Fibonacci sequence. So at some point, I have to sort of wrap my head around about how I would present these and the various different examples in a teachable format. Right now, I'm still just trading it myself, making money with it and having fun. Do I actually get to the point where I'm motivated to actually put course modules together and all that? I don't know. Jojo, I need a motivational shot in the arm for that. I've had a lot of people are kind of like, when's level 4? When's level 4? And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do anymore. Crazy, Brian. So, currently not in the education program. It is a huge level. What I would suggest you do is just watch how these levels interact with the stuff that's actually taught in the school. Did I lose my microphone there? Can you guys hear me? Is this sound going in and out? I don't know. Can you guys tell me on I'm good? Okay, cool. But, what I like to trade is what's called confluence. So if you see foggy levels that line up with reload zones, that line up with extension levels, that line up with volume profile levels, that line up with gaps, that line up with previous market structure, that line up with, you get the idea, right? So, and if you're part of the site and the part of the community, just relax. If you're in the level 1 program, no offense, but if you're in the level 1 program and you just started, you don't know anything. So just put your opinions away. Just total blank slate. You don't know jack shit. I don't know anything. In fact, I want everybody in the level 1 program, I want to see 150 people type in the level 1 program, I don't know anything, I'm here to learn the process. If I see that from you, then that means that you're humble, and it means you're malleable, means you're open and receptive. You paid money for this, so if Brian tells you to bark, you better bark. But, if you're, thank you, Bob's on board. If you're here to learn this thing called the process and get good at this, and trust me, we trained enough people here. I have no doubts, reservations whatsoever. This shit works, and it's not. I don't even need to sell it. It just does. You don't know anything, and you are an open book, and you just sit there for the next 12 weeks going, okay, well, I'm here to learn. And really, what I would suggest is probably you should be here for the next year. Even if it's like, I'm going to take the level 1, it's 3 months long, 4 or 5 months, whatever. And then I'm just going to sit in the lounge and just listen to the daily briefs and try and run my basic plan, nanny nibbles, whatever. And just watch. And the cool part about this is the proof of the pudding's in the eating. You stick around long enough and you're going to hear enough Brian go, fucking goddamn fucking son of bitch. Enough times you're going to be like, yeah, okay, I think I see what's going on here. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we got to keep moving forward here. I got to get ready for Liam. Are there common traits of your best students, most successful traders? I just gave you a bunch there just a moment ago. I hope you were listening. That go through the course. If so, is there a 3 P's? Patience, persistence, participant? No, that doesn't work. Discipline. I think it's the 3 D's, isn't it? Discipline. I don't know. I can't remember how that goes. It's been so long. Somebody, Nathaniel. I think Daniel or Nathaniel. I always get those two guys mixed up. But one of them is always talking with Hogue first thing in the morning. So get your assignment Monday morning. Get Hogue's. It's either the 3 D's or the 3 P's or the 4 P's or the 4 D's. I can't remember. I know one of them's drunk, so it must be D's. Do not trade drunk, depressed, debilitated, or something like that. Right? Anyway, best students, I'll tell you, absolute best students, just do what we tell you to do. Everything that I lay out for you, just do it. So, this week, Your number one job is to build things like the journal and get verbal diarrheaing. And I was in the level 1 classroom this morning and I said, the best thing you can possibly do right now, because none of you know jack shit, sorry, the best thing you can possibly do right now is journal. Just get in there and write your story. And more importantly, write your story about what you think you know now. Because that's the worst part about this is what you think you know is right is actually probably wrong. And I have to undo a lot of what sort of the damage society has done to you. Our crappy educational system has done to you. What the 1% has done to you to make sure that you stay the 99% and you do not transition into the 1%'s world. I got to undo a lot of that. So the best way to attack that huge goal is you have to journal. You have to write out your story. Last year, I bought this cryptocurrency because this guy on YouTube said it was going straight up and I lost my life savings. I don't care. I'm not here to judge you. But that information is invaluable. Not to me, to you. And what is so cool, I'll tell you, I hope 150 of you are listening. What is so cool is when you get to the end of this 12 weeks and you've done what I've asked you to do, what Grim's asked you to do, what Sharky will ask you to do, what Kevin will ask you to do, what everybody at TRI will ask you to do. When you get to that end of that 12 weeks, you look back and you read the stuff that you wrote this week. You're like, holy shit, really? Did I really think that way? Oh my goodness, that's funny. I can't tell you. I mean, every single term I ask all the level 1ers to do it. Only a few of you do, and the ones that do, it's incredibly valuable information. Could you spend the whole damn week just journaling about all the different ways you've been screwed over the years? How much money you pissed away on this project or that project, or when you bought the whatever. Yes, you could easily spend this whole fucking week just verbal diarrheaing. So, what I would suggest, that's right, and for heaven's sakes, you have to be truthful here. So whoever's asking this question, you want to be the best student, the most successful student, the most successful trader, you have to be honest. You're here because obviously things aren't working, right? You're not here because you're making $1 million. Maybe you are. I doubt it. You have to be honest. You have to go, fuck, whatever I've been doing in the past, it's not working. Listening to that hot tip, that didn't work. Throwing all my money on Black 8, that didn't work. Buying Bitcoin at 20 G's to get margin called at 6,000. That didn't work. You have to be honest. Actually, I was pretty impressed with one of TRI's principals, a business partner this week. Right in front of the community, he was like, oh boy, I fucked up this week. But, that honesty actually is a huge liberator. Because most people, and especially with men, it's a terrible trait, is they'll talk about their successes, but they will never talk about their failures. Okay, so hopefully I've given you some food for thought. When you're asking these questions, could you please maybe just put your initials, or, if you want to put your first name, something in here, just so I feel like I'm talking to you, and then if you happen to be here, then you can reply back. Richard says, I friggin' love this crap. Well, cool. That's what I said. That the toilet. No, well, no, that's terrible. What does he say? You may be rich, but you are way more valuable than most riches in the world. Boo, poop jokes. I know, and really, I'm downplaying such a great statement by Richard. Thank you, Richard. Like I told my little hairdresser, I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna go get pretty for Liam. I'm gonna spend the next 3 or 4 hours trying to make him have an awesome day. Then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna hop in the lounge, and I'm just gonna see is there anybody else I can help, and just try and keep the PMA bus going. Tomorrow morning, I'll get up. I'll see if there's any doubles I have to book, because I'm a lucky ass son of a bitch. If there's any bid orders that I got filled, because my TRI SOF crew gave me some awesome ideas, or somebody in the lounge in our crypto crew said you ought to take a look at that. In fact, I got a bid working on that OMG. I sure like the look of that down in here. But remember, I'm a cheap ass, so I won't chase. So hopefully I've given you some things to think about here. And half of what we have to do is tomorrow's a holiday, isn't it? Cool. So we actually get to sleep in. Maybe I won't even. Well, I guess we'll do daily briefs and stuff. There's no holiday for traders, especially crypto traders. Okay, so I've been burnt in the past from Taxman, who hasn't. Capital gains. Can you give strategies for tracking capital gains for the crypto market, as I am in BC, Canada? I just simply put, I don't even think the tax man understands what sort of the policies are here. Welcome to Canada. Canada is an extremely highly taxed society. So that doesn't surprise me. We sold, what is it, about $130,000 worth of Bitcoin up at the top of the market there in 2017, 2018 to actually get the cash, just so I could put that tweet out saying, hey, I took 500, turned 100,000. Right? And, oh God, we had to pay a lot of fucking capital gain tax on that. So, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Would I bill anybody at TRI as a tax expert? No. No, 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 no. No. That's right, Andre. No. My strong suggestion for you is you pick up the horn and you call, Cooper's, Price Waterhouse. I don't even know. Actually, they're merged now, aren't they? Call an accounting firm, maybe a pretty reputable one. So that maybe like one of the national firms. Then that way you're not going to get some sort of flighty accountant. Some guys actually got, some reputation to uphold. Maybe one of their junior asked to speak to one of their sort of junior tax department advisors and sit down and get to work. And specifically with regard to Canada, if you want to go through that process, this actually is something that Shane's been thinking about recently, where what we would like to do is incentivize TRI members to actually do presentations on different topics and give suggestions. So, ironically enough, I might turn this around on you and say, well, maybe as a way you could contribute back to TRI is you could suggest to Canadians that this accounting firm or that accounting firm or this guide published by CRI can help. I don't have a problem with that. Do we ever give, and what I meant by Shane is we're kicking around the idea of some sort of like souvenir token as a sign of appreciation, sign of sort of TRIOGS kind of things. Maybe you get compensated with sort of like a Brian bobblehead or something. So I'm very, very leery about giving any tax advice, and every single country is different. So, I say one thing to Canadians could be completely different to Americans. I hate to say it, we don't sell the site as a tax advisory service. We sell the site as a way to manage your behavior, risking your money in the marketplace. That's the service that we sell. We do not sell tax advice. It sucks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Not going to sugarcoat it whatsoever. And as I've sort of said publicly of late, I went and threw a bunch of money in a registered account. I'm really interested about acquiring as much equity as I possibly can through this period, a la the conversations I was showing you earlier about how the 1% are trying to get you out of your equity and into debt. I want to get out of debt and into equity because I know equity is going to go up in value substantially. And Klaus wants all the equity, and he wants you to have no equity because he knows that equity is going to go up substantially in value. So I took that portfolio, and it's a registered account, so that means I buy anything that's sort of deemed acceptable by the regulators. And I've just had fun trading that away, and because it's a registered account, everything inside it just grows tax-free. And it's an easy way to participate in the market. And I mean, the funny thing about it is, let's say you start an account with $10,000. If that's a registered account, then that means you get a tax credit for depositing that. And if you have to withdraw that $10,000, the tax man wants that credit back, so they're going to hold back like a couple grand. That's how it is in Canada. 20% withholding. So let's say you go and buy a stock with $10,000 in that registered account, and the stock goes up 10x. Now the account's worth $100,000. Can you go and maybe take out the original $10,000 plus the 12% or 20% withholding? I don't know, like $12,000 of those $100,000 now, and basically now you have free equity for the rest of your life sitting in that registered account, whatever. It's pretty simple, and that's sort of the premise that I've been following right now with that account, because it all grows tax free. I've got just about all of my original cash just sitting on the sidelines. I could withdraw it if I want and do that withholding thing. And I've got about $40,000 worth of the market's equity free. It's just sitting there doing nothing. It's not bad. I mean, the market goes up, great. It rises in value. Market goes down, falls in value. But so what? It's all free. So that's the way I like to. I'm a big kind of free kind of guy. And if you dramatically outperform the market, which I have, because it's embarrassing. Almost you have to be like quiet, right? Okay, wait a minute. These numbers are ridiculous. So maybe let's just hush things down. I don't need to be public about this shit. Then I don't really mind deregistering part of the plan and paying the withholding tax. So what? But the only problem with that is you have to include the money in your income this year. So then that means that my income taxes are going to go up. I don't need any more income. So why bother deregistering it anyway? Crazy life. Stock Market Trading Now says, check out Stock Market Trading on YouTube for beginners advice. Wow, look at that. So people are already popping on this channel and shilling their own channels. Interesting. Well, there you go. I suppose that was doomed to happen. Okay, so I'm sorry that's sort of my cop-out answer for you. It sucks, horsecocks. And what I would just simply say is, yeah, we get fucking taxed up the ass here in Canada, so this has to be a major consideration with anything you're doing in the market, and you're probably best to actually hire a professional. Seriously. So. All right, Brian mentioned his level 1 course intro that he feels crypto is a great expression of computing and technology, but also feels through crypto people are trying to take their power back. Yeah, to a certain degree. But I haven't recently seen some DB videos that he thinks the coin was brought from the CIA. What has changed in this view since then? Good question. Touche. The question here is, how do you put this? would this and this is always dangerous, right? Whenever you gotta have these kind of conversations. I mean, is the CIA actually acting in the United States of America's Inc.'s best interest? I don't know. What's fascinating is you could be a government employee, an elected official in the United States of America, and some parts of the United States of America, all these black box projects, all funded by George Bush Sr. And orchestrated by him. And Cheney and all his buddies. They're completely above the government. They don't even give a shit about the government. Government doesn't mean anything to them, which is shocking. It's interesting. I put out a tweet recently about Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, I think, actually is probably the greatest American hero, because he's the only person in U.S. history that had the balls to stand up to the central bankers and to step up to all the brutal corruption of the post-U.S. Revolutionary War U.S. government. So, yeah. I mean, you could make the argument that Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy all tried to keep the bankers in line. They knocked off Lincoln. They knocked off Kennedy. And oh, by the way, they tried to assassinate Andrew Jackson, but he survived. Is there a bit of a coincidence here? Terrible. And that's the thing, right? I can feel the laser pointer crosshairs just went right over my forehead. Whoop, now he's back down. Yep, he's right between my eyes right now. I can look right out the window. I can see him. There he is over in the building, right over there. Yeah, I see you. If you want to pull the trigger, just do it. You might as well get it over with. So, that's half the problem with our society right now. I mean, you can try and keep these people in line, but they'll just kill you. Woo! So, I mean, this is an interesting question. You're opening up a massive can of worms here. I kind of say it to a certain degree tongue-in-cheek, but, I could see that some elements within the United States of America foresaw that this unfunded debt liability system that our whole sort of currency base is based on, I could see that they kind of went, this is not sustainable. At some point it's going to break, and what are we going to do on the other side of that? And lo and behold, here comes this thing called cryptography. Cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin. What an interesting coincidence. So, could you make the argument that cryptography and cryptocurrencies, the blockchain, fungible assets, if you will, or non-fungible, I guess, could replace this debt-backed collateralized system that we've been operating on since basically 1913, and sort of U.S. debt, just too much. Anyway, I think you could make the argument that the powers that be knew that this system was going to break at some point, and they needed to create something to replace it. And lo and behold, I mean, you see the path that cryptocurrencies are taking here, and the path that Bitcoin's taking. I do find it a bit coincidental that Bitcoin hasn't really run into any traction whatsoever out of the United States of America. I don't know whether any of you have noticed that. Nobody said boo about Bitcoin ever. Right? It's always, let's shit on the altcoins. Let's shit on the exchanges. Let's shit on the McAfees who are tax dodgers, right? All that kind of stuff. Nobody said boo about Bitcoin. So, just because it is a CIA pet project, that doesn't really actually change any of this conversation. Maybe that was the whole plan from the get-go. Tell you that George Bush Sr. guy, he's one smart motherfucker. I think the American public actually discounted him out too much when Dana Carvey and stuff used to make fun of him. That guy, I think he's like one of the guys that the sort of skull and bones, all that kind of shit. They're basically the people that run the fate of the United States. Oh well. Tinfoil hats, party. Okay. Can you show an easy way to quickly recognize M's and W's on a chart? Well, actually, the easiest way is just to change your chart to a line chart. Like, I'm looking at Doge here. Where the hell's a goddamn M or W? Well, if I just change this to a line chart, notice down. Oh, look at this little one. Down, up, down, W. But, geez, that's awfully quick, eh? But look at this. Down, up, down against those lows. Look at this. Down, up, down, and then boom, up through here. That confirms that W right there, but this also confirms this bigger W. So there's like 2 W's here. I love W's within W's. Awesome. So there's probably a really good example. Now you want to be like, Mr. Sharpshooter Trader. I hunt M's and W's. Look at this really tight little W right here. If you had bought that bar right there, you'd be like, damn, Brad. But look at this big M up here. Up, down, up, fail, right? And you can see I even drew a line off of that. So technically that's a sell. And down we go. You can see this little W came in here, broke up, but then it went and put in an M. So it's sort of like the market right here is like, I'm a bull. No, I'm a bear. Okay, fuck it, I'm nothing. And then that turns out new M, down we go. So you can get wrapped up in the short-term little ones, but really what I'd rather you see is sort of like the forest through the trees. It changes to like a weekly chart. I love them weekly W's. So now you can see it. We go down, up, down, test that low, down, and break up. So that is a pretty good looking little W. You might have said, well, Brian, isn't this down, up, down, breakout? Isn't that a W? Yeah. And it didn't work? Yeah. I mean, nothing in this game is 100%, folks. Please understand that. All right? You're playing statistical models here. So do W's work? I'd say a good like 60-70% of the time. Question you have to ask yourself is, would you really want to come in on the buy side here, knowing that you got a risk all the way down to here, or basically that big of a risk window? For a lot of players, that's just too big. Yes, it is a W, but it's just too big. I want to find these little W's, right, where they're nice and tight. So I'm going to buy here and I'm going to risk here. Okay, I got a nice small risk window. So keep that in mind. Does that answer your question? And see, I don't know who's asking these questions. I wouldn't mind asking. But hopefully that helps answer your question there. Brian, what stock exchange do you suggest for Canadian residents? What stock exchange do you suggest? That's kind of an odd question. Probably what you should ask yourself is, what kind of assets am I interested in trading? Am I legally allowed to invest in those assets given where I live, right? My Canadian residency. Some places you are, some places you are not. Like in the United States of America right now, they are not allowed to be playing on things like, is it BitMEX? I think it's BitMEX, something like that. There's a few of them, right? If you're a U.S. citizen, Binance, Trex, the U.S. Or the international side of that. So you're going to have to really ask, what asset it is you're interested in. And then the asset itself will dictate probably what exchange you're on. So the more speculative an asset, obviously the more speculative the exchange. For Canadians, you can get into all the trouble you ever need just staying on the Toronto Stock Exchange and the Vancouver Stock Exchange, or what do they call the CDNX, or the Canadian Venture Market. That's a universe of 10,000 stocks or so. You can buy all of the major U.S. markets, New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, American Stock Exchange. I would suggest you be careful investing in what they call the OTC, or over the counter, which is basically a non-regulated market. They also call that the bulletin board or the pink sheets down in the States. Very dangerous. As well, there's a junior stock market in Canada that follows along the same sort of very speculative, very loosey-goosey regulatory framework. It's out of Calgary. I think it's now called the CSE, or the Canadian Stock Exchange. It's kind of sketchy. And then, of course, all your various cryptocurrencies exchanges, they would sort of be labeled or in that same basket of OTC, bulletin board, non-regulated, right? Forwards contracts, not futures contracts, that kind of conversation. So if you have any, specifics, most of the stocks that I buy are, in Canada are off of either the TSC or the Venture Exchange. Yeah, I do have one or two off of the Canadian Stock Exchange, that real junior exchange, but they suck horse cocks. I mean, fucking Shane recommended them. What do you expect? Arr, arr, arr. Gotcha. Zing! Anytime I can get a zing in on Shane, I win. I just can't. He's got a thick skin. He can take it. He's always fucking hitting me with low blows. If you need more help, you can always reach out to me in daily briefs and stuff like that. I'll be more than happy to help you with that. All right, last question, I guess. I have a question regarding candlestick shadows. All right, it's confusing to me to identify double tops bottoms when candlesticks have shadows. Should I take the wicks into consideration? Because we can identify a double top bottom in a line chart, but with candlesticks, it doesn't look like a double top bottom. Thank you. Here's the thing. Actually, I was thinking about this the other day. Is there really one right way to trade? Not really. Ironically enough, the right way to trade is the way that sets you up for success. Through our lives, we all go through individual experiences that are completely unique. So as a result, ironically enough, just two human beings can't look at the world the same way. It's impossible. So as a result, we're all going to bring our own bias and our own filters and our own preconceived notions. So what I actually suggest people do is we're going to have to go through this process of figuring out what works for you, what speaks to your subconscious, what type of risk taker you are, what kind of squiggly lines appeal to you. Some people that I teach in these games, they don't like the squiggly lines at all. We have one gentleman who comes on the site and he loves his fundamental analysis. And he just simply goes and says, you know what, I'll look for good structured companies. And I'll just look for revenue that's ramping up. That's all the fundamentals I need. Fuck your charts. They're a waste of time. Okay. I mean, I'm not here to teach you that this is the one right way to trade. And only this. That you must use lines or you must use shadows. It doesn't work that way. The way that it works is you're never going to be right 100% of the time. So just get used to that. It sucks. Just get used to that now. Take appropriate risk. Don't have too much of an emotional attachment to your investment. And that way, if the trade idea doesn't work, well, shit happens. Next bus in 10 minutes. We want to ideally try and build this thing called edge. And all edge is, well, I've seen this happen so many times that when this does happen, I see that happens pretty often. And we want to, with that edge, and ideally we would like to have 3 edges, and they should all be unrelated edges. Don't try and have all your edges the same indicator, sort of like price momentum indicator, stochastic, MACD, RSI, all say buy signal, so this is 3 unrelated reasons. Well, no, that's actually totally wrong. That's one reason. So, point here is we're looking for edges that when we do things, more often than not, desirable outcomes happen. And then we just simply want to just get in there and rinse and repeat, do it over and over and over and over and over. And will something work 100% of the time always? No. And the worst part about trading is that you might get into a market state where it is working 100% of the time and you're just fucking killing it and you're just putting up just insane numbers. That's a warning. Trouble will be brewing down the road. And you have to identify the fact that we're statisticians by nature. So if you're going through a killer period, knocking the cover off the ball, then at some point your indicators are going to start coming back into statistical norms, and you're probably going to have to book some losers, and your indicator's probably not going to work that well for a while market state changes and cleans itself up, and then we eventually work back into your friendly market state, and away you go. So what I would say here to this is I work with some traders who are religious about price. If a price trades to a tail low or a wick high, that price is important. You want to trade W's off of those wicks and tails? I don't have a problem with that. Do the wicks and tails W's work 70-80% of the time? Yeah, generally. Are you, well, Brian, I prefer clotheslines because then I don't get chopped up in the noise and I like the W's off the clotheslines. Are you going to have wicks and tails that fuck with clothesline stop levels? Absolutely. But they're apples and oranges. So something like clotheslines looking for W's, well, probably exit the position on a close below that W. Could you get an insane wick that fucks with your brain? Absolutely. Welcome to trading. So I'm not necessarily going to say there's one right or wrong way to do this. What I am going to say is what needs to happen through your education is you now have to go through the process of logging, maybe 20 W's that clothesline, and coming up with a statistical model that gives you an idea of how often to expect these big FU events. And like I said, if you're like a pit trader for crude oil or something like that, every single tick is critical. And even the volume that's traded on that particular tick is very important. So I can't just go off a clothesline basis. I want to know exactly what's going on, especially if I'm like day trading. But point here is you have to build out your own personal database of these trade setups. You have to build that statistical model. You have to see the visual evidence. The truths of the market are universal. They're not going anywhere. They're exactly the same as the first day I got involved in the market back in the 1980s as they are today. Nothing has really changed. The key here is what actually defines a good place to take a trade. I see a lot of people will be focused on candlesticks, right? But they won't take into account trade location. So they'll be grinding away working with candlesticks, and they'll be like, hey, this inside bar works, but then it didn't work. But what I see is they're constantly using one tool, but I see the location of price has changed dramatically. So as a result, market participants, given range or trend market state, they change. So you can't really constantly just be hunting a candle pattern, and that's your sole reason for justify taking the risk. There's got to be many more components: location, indicator confirmation, and then candlestick patterns. So I hope that's some food for thought to help answer that question. It's getting on 1 o'clock here, so I think I'll probably leave it at that. I've been barking at you guys for a good couple hours today. So welcome to the program, everybody who joined us. I think you're in for a super fun 12 weeks. Of course, level 2ers, you're rocking it with Kiran. You should get a little bit more individualized attention as you work your way up sort of through the education ladder. And of course, level 3ers, we get 2 sessions with the Brian through the week, and we have relatively small groups, so I can tell these people they're going to get very highly individualized attention, and they're probably going to turn into our next generation of OGs. So great to see the schools rocking and rolling. You know, Mr. Twitter. The people on the site have actually said they'll give you a free ride. The ball's in your court. I'm here to teach you the process. You got to start at day 1. You got to lose your ego. You got to basically say, I know nothing, and I'm going to work and build the foundation of my business of running a small business of trading from ground up. If you want to take advantage of it, our community is here to help you. And I thought that was a beautiful thing that our community did. Nobody asked anybody in our community to help that guy. They just all said, hey, we need to help this guy. So I'm very proud of TRIers for that too as well. Okay, everybody, have yourselves a great rest of your trading day. We'll see everybody, of course, in Broiler Chickens tomorrow morning. All the best. And the only thing left for Brian to say here is a big bye for now.